Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. As Mike's Talks and Thoughts here, back again with another video for you guys. And today we have The Last of Us Season 1 review here. So as you guys know, I have been reviewing all of The Last of Us episodes here on the channel, and now we have come to the season finale for the season review here. So even before we get started and jumping into the show itself, let's talk a little bit about the prelims and about The Last of Us. So Last of Us, of course, very well known in the gaming sphere here, with the first game, of course, The Last of Us, coming out in 2013, a very beloved game here by so many fans, talked about as one of the greatest video games of all time. Amazing story, so many great characters and aspects to this game, and they announced the TV adaptation. And one thing that was announced with it was, of course, Neil Druckmann, the creator of the game, being very heavily involved in this story, which is really great. I mean, you want the source material to reflect in the TV show. You know, it doesn't have to be exact copies, but being faithful to the source material. And who's going to do better than that? The guy who created the game. So that was just a great way to start off The Last of Us, just having that faith that this was going to be something that stayed faithful to the source material and that the creator was involved with. And then the casting just made this show even better and even more exciting. I was ecstatic when I heard about the casting of each one of these people here. First, here we have Pedro Pascal as Joel Miller here, and Pedro is one of my favorite actors of all time. I love him in Game of Thrones, Narcos. He even has a little scene in Lights Out, which is a very underground show in the early 2010s here. He just is a great actor to portray Joel. I just felt like that was a great choice. This little hardened dude living in the apocalypse. I'm like, who better than Pedro Pascal, man? So that was great. That already kicked it off really well. And then having Bella Ramsey as Ellie here, Ellie Williams, and another one, beloved character in the series. And again, I'm a huge Game of Thrones fanatic, so I love seeing her as Lyanna Mormont in Game of Thrones. So I just knew that these two actors have done projects that I've absolutely loved. I love their characters, so that was great. And then getting announcements of Nick Offerman. I love Parks and Rec, Ron Swanson, Anna Torv from Mindhunter here. So great, you know, just every time they kept announcing a name, I was like, wow, this is just going to get better and better. So I already knew the cast going in was going to be absolutely incredible. And yeah, season 1 was just absolutely incredible. Going through here with The Last of Us, they kick it off here with these 3 gentlemen talking, I believe it was in the 1960s, about a possible world life breaking virus here. And of course, we know this to be the cordyceps virus, to where, you know, it could spread, and basically the origin of how it could get started with this bacteria and disease and it infecting and growing and taking control of the brain and the mind here. So that was really interesting to see. We got even an explanation on how this virus works and what it does to people. So with that information in the first episode here, man, the pilot is one of the greatest TV pilots of all time. You get to meet Joel and his daughter Sarah at this time. This, of course, taking place, they say in 2003, of course, to match up with the timeline here for 2023. So 2003, Joel and Sarah here, just living out their day-to-day lives, and just weird stuff starts happening to them throughout the day. They start hearing little stories here about this outbreak. I believe that originated in Indonesia here, and Joel just trying to figure out what's going on. Same with Sarah here. And then as you get to meet their neighbors and Joel's brother Tommy here, you just get to see everything just fall apart and break down. The apocalypse is full on in effect. We see the neighbor, of course. Sarah's looking for the neighbor, and the neighbor is infected. You see these infected, and I'm so used to seeing, of course, in The Walking Dead, these walkers who just walk super slow. No, in The Last of Us, man, it was such a nice change of pace to see what they call runners, or the infected, man. they run full force, full sprint at you, and it's like, wow, it's so fast paced, and they feel like they're coming right at you. And it was a really nice change of pace here. I loved it. And just the whole chaos of everyone trying to get out of the city and trying to find a way out, and that camera shot of showing the burning house and the plane coming down. It was perfection, man. I loved it. Easily my favorite moment of the whole series was that pilot episode around the first 30 minutes. Incredible. And then following Joel, and we see 20 years later, he is living in this quarantine zone, and we kind of see how the way of life is now with these people. We get to see how each people are living in this quarantine zone. You can't really trust anyone. Everyone's kind of doing their own thing. Everyone's kind of assigned a job. It's kind of going back to the old way of life. And this is where we get introduced to Marlene, and Marlene here gives sort of this background on Ellie here. We get to see Ellie as well being sort of kept up in this room, and Joel being the one that she wants to take her to the Fireflies. So the Fireflies, of course, is this group that's very powerful in this world right now in The Last of Us. And Marlene, of course, knows that Ellie is infected but is not turning. So she is immune to the virus or the cordyceps. And this is where Joel sort of, is very hesitant at first, but he wants to go out and find his brother as well. So Marlene, of course, gives him the task of protecting this girl and getting her to where they need to go, and possibly even making a vaccine with the help, of Joel and Ellie and all this dynamic that's going on. And this is also where Tess gets involved in, of course, played by Anna Torv. Tess is sort of Joel's friend, possibly even love interest here. You see how they sort of are getting along in the quarantine zone. They're sort of, making trades with other people, and she is also coming along to, this journey, and that sets the precedent for the whole season. The two big goals here, of course, of finding Joel's brother Tommy here and taking Ellie to the Fireflies for treatment to try and find a cure for all the infected and saving everyone. And then that leads into episode number 2 here, which was Infected. And in this episode, we get to see just how the infection works and, of course, their journey of moving forward here. It's their first real experience in the outside world here. And we get to see how the infected sort of interact. We were teased a little bit in the pilot how they kind of run at you, and then you see how there's like 100 of them, and they're all like in a chain here, and if one snaps, they all snap, and just this domino effect that sort of happens where everything is happening all at once, and them seeing how potent this infection is, and them continuing their journey here, just trying to get across the country, and them finally coming to a new sort of infected in the clickers here. The clickers, they can't see, of course, they click, they make noises, and that's how they're able to try and track people down, is through noises, because they can't see. This is sort of the middle stage of infected here, and it was really cool seeing that, man. The practical effects and the visuals were amazing. And of course, this is where they get stuck in their first real shitty predicament, and Tess, of course, reveals that she has been bitten by one of the infected here, and they sort of get trapped as Joel and Ellie were trying to meet up with these people, and you find out they've already been wiped out, and then Tess here, of course, has to sacrifice herself, I guess, because she knows that she's going to turn. She kind of gives herself up to the infected so that Joel and Ellie can get away, and it's a great way to end the second episode of The Last of Us here. Moving into the third episode here of this fantastic show, just breaking down everything here. This is where we get the definition of a true heart-to-heart love story, sort of, and it's just much more than that. This is, of course, where Nick Offerman comes in as Bill here. He is portrayed as the survivalist during the apocalypse, and he has like this whole community to himself, and you see how he's really self-sufficient, able to work on his own. And of course, Joel and Ellie are pretty much thrown to the background in this episode as they are just trying to keep moving along with their journey, and we get to learn about Bill and eventually Frank. Frank comes along, stumbles upon Bill's community. Bill is, of course, going to shoot anyone on sight because he doesn't know if they can be trusted. And then Frank's able to talk to him and be human with him, and they're able to have that trust and build that trust. And Frank, of course, never ends up leaving. They end up spending their time together in this little community that they have, and they have so much going for them. And basically all they need is each other to keep them through what's going on out in this crazy fucked up world right now. So it was just beautiful, man, just seeing how these two interacted, the memories they shared throughout this 20 years. And you see as Frank's conditions getting worse and Bill trying to fix it, and Frank, of course, is letting Bill know, this is going to be the end. Slip something into my drink. I'm not going to make it much longer. And Bill says, man, if I don't have you, I don't have anyone, basically. And goes out with him. And it was beautiful, man. Just a beautiful little story. These two guys living in the apocalypse and finding each other. It was beautiful. And of course, this leads, of course, to our two main characters, Joel and Ellie. We find out that Joel and Tess had been trading with Bill and Frank this entire time, getting supplies and, being friendly and having that ability to trade certain items here. And this, of course, is where Joel stumbles upon, Bill and Frank being gone here, and them taking Bill's truck here to move on to the 4th episode, where we get to see this new Kansas City chapter here. Joel and Ellie, they seem like they're doing good on their journey, and then shit hits the fan. The freeway is blocked where they're going. They have to go around, and this is where they get caught up in a quarantine zone in Kansas City, where these people, of course, like I said at the beginning, they will shoot anyone on sight. It just doesn't matter. They can't trust anyone. They don't know if they're infected, where they're coming from. So they have this big shootout scene, and Joel and Ellie in the city trying to escape, and we get this little side story of this leader of the Pedro group. Her brother was, of course, the leader, and then he was killed by Henry, who we're wondering, who's this Henry character? Why is he so... why did he kill this guy? Why is he so wanted? And at the end of the episode, Joel and Ellie, of course, are hiding away, and this is where, of course, they interact with Henry and Sam. Henry and Sam, of course, holding them up as they would, of course, not being able to trust anyone, like I mentioned. And this brings us to episode number 5, which was just a crazy little storyline here with them going out with Henry and Sam here and trying to get them out of the city here and get them to safety. And you see Ellie and Sam bonding here in their journey, trying to, of course, get out the city and avoid this group here. And it's really a tension-filled episode. Joel and Henry have great conversations here along with Ellie and Sam. And I also loved at the beginning of the episode where you get to see how Henry sort of got Sam to safety and how he got him out the city, and them trying to find an escape route here. And it was just really, really crazy. Just be on the edge of your seat. What's going to happen? What events are going to happen next? And this brings us to the all-out classic sniper scene where they're almost at the home stretch, and a sniper, of course, is shooting down at them. And they do a really nice twist where Joel, of course, comes into the back and takes out the sniper. But the sniper, we find out, is the guy who was helping out Henry and Sam earlier, who was sort of, I guess, a double agent working for the Fedra group here. And, of course, Henry mentions as well that they don't know where the infected have been stored. There was rumors that they were in the tunnels underground, but then he said, I've explored the tunnels, they're not under there. And this is where Joel takes over, but the Fedra group here is coming down full charge, trying to get Henry and Sam and Ellie are just all trapped, and Joel's just trying to protect them. And as this whole chaotic action scene breaks out, this house is where they have been storing all the infected, and it gets destroyed, and they all come out, and they're going after everyone, tearing everyone limb from limb. This is where we also get our first interaction with the bloater, which is the most decomposed stage of an infected, and these things are huge motherfuckers, man. They gotta be like almost 10 feet tall. They just rip through anyone that comes in their way, man. You just can't kill these things, man. They're so difficult. And this is where Henry and Sam, they look like they're about to get away, and then the leader of their group holds them up, and of course she ends up getting killed, and they're able to get away. But in the whole aftermath of that whole exchange with the infected getting out and the chaos, we find out that Sam, who of course we have loved this entire episode, has been bit, and Ellie trying to save him, and then Sam turning on Ellie the next morning, and Henry, he's like panicking, I don't know what to do, and he shoots Sam because this isn't Sam anymore, he's infected. And then Henry just feels like he has nothing left to live for, and he pulls the gun on himself. And it's so heartbreaking, so tragic. And after we bonded so much with these characters in this one little episode, and them falling out like that and just being so bleak and gloom, it was definitely interesting to see how they were going to progress from here, Joel and Ellie, after all they've been through now. And of course, as we get further along in the season, we just see how much more they have to deal with before they can finally get Ellie to where they want her to go. So after that entire spiel in episode number 5 here, we get to episode number 6, Ken here. And this is, of course, where they're getting very close to finding Tommy here, and you start getting the vibes, will they find Tommy? I didn't think they were going to find Tommy until the very end of the season, maybe episode 8 or 9, but they end up finding him here, and it was really great to see, because I love the scene where they're surrounded and they think there's no way out here, and they take him back to this community, and of course Tommy's like, that's my brother. And them just reuniting after all this time, it doesn't feel like a lot of time in the story, just because Tommy's only been gone for about 5 episodes. But you gotta remember, it's 20 years. It's been 20 years since they've seen each other, and they just have this embrace. And Ellie is just loving this new community, and we get to meet the girl that, of course, Tommy's with, and you find out that they've kind of started their own family now, and basically telling Tommy here about this journey they've gone on, and Tommy saying, you have to finish this journey because Joel and Ellie want to stay at this community, but Tommy's like, you got to finish this what you started. And Joel was the one who wanted Tommy to take Ellie, of course, but you realize that Joel has got to be the only one, man. And just them going out and figuring out what the plan is, and then of course the end of the episode running into this university where they sort of get attacked by this group, and Joel gets stabbed here, and they leave you off on, is Joel going to survive, what's going to happen? He's losing a lot of blood. And that leads us into episode 7, which is kind of like episode 3, where it's Joel and Ellie sort of take the background to a flashback or another story, and this is of course Ellie and Riley. Of course, Ellie is still trying to patch up Joel at the start of the episode, but this brings Ellie back to her first encounter of having to deal with someone dying that she, of course, very much cared about. And Riley here, you find out about Ellie's past, of her being in this Boston quarantine zone, and how she's still a very troubled kid at this point, and her roommate Riley here, of course, sneaking off and eventually finding out that Riley is going to be joining the Fireflies, but Riley, of course, doesn't really reveal that until the very end. So Riley, of course, takes Ellie out to this just one night of adventure where they go to this mall, and this mall is something that Ellie had never seen before. It's like a kid in a candy shop for the first time, where everything looks so new and vibrant. She's never lived in the world before the apocalypse, so just being overloaded by this sense of things just coming at her, I would say. It was really, really great. Them playing Mortal Kombat, going to the arcades, trying out different outfits. It was just a really fun time, and you just had that feeling that this was going to be something more to it than just them hanging out. And this is, of course, where they are trying on the mask here, and in the Halloween store, and there was a guy who was infected earlier who they kind of brushed to the side, and he sort of comes out and starts attacking them. Ellie and Riley get in this crazy scene where they try and fight him off. While they do, both of them are infected here. Ellie, of course, bitten, and Riley bitten around her head, neck area. So they sort of wait it out here, and this is, of course, past the point where they sort of show feelings for one another and talk about how let's just wait it out, because they don't want to take the easy way out. And you don't even get to see the shot, but you know what happens. Ellie, of course, is immune at this point. She doesn't really know, but if I'm assuming Riley had turned, and that is where she had to sort of put her down here. And it was really tough on her. It was her first love and someone she really deeply cared about. So it just hit home, and that really leads us into episode number 8, where Ellie is sort of on her own. Joel is still down, and she's trying to find any way to get food, get medicine, just kind of survive out here. And she runs into this group who we introduced at the beginning. It's just this crazy group. They worship God, and this pastor's sort of crazy, and you find out that this group is the one that attacked Joel at the start of this, and this girl who lost her father because Joel, of course, took him out. And you just see this group, and they're giving you off really weird vibes, but really interesting vibes as well. This is in the winter chapter of the story, where everything, it's snowy, it's gloomy, and Ellie, of course, runs into the leader and the right-hand man here, David, and they sort of have this talking, and Ellie's like, don't test me, I'll shoot you. And they are like, no. And he tries to be very persuasive here, and he talks about how their group has been running low on food, and it's like, if you give me half the deer, we'll give you medicine to help out your friend. She says that, I need medicine. And the one guy, you could see the right-hand man was trying to sort of finesse her, but the leader here is like, no, we're going to do this right here, and trying to gain her trust. And you wonder, is this dude trying to be sincere, or does he have another alternative motive here? And of course, the alternative motive, we find out later, is just absolutely sickening. Ellie basically gets the medicine, gives it to Joel, but she's trying to go back out and get away from these guys who have been sort of coming up and attacking her, and they sort of corner her to where they have her and take her, and the leader wants to keep her alive for his little sadistic reasons here. And Joel, of course, is finally starting to come back, and Ellie gives him this knife, and the leader of the group, David, tells his guys, I don't care about him, go find him, do whatever you need to do to get your vengeance. And Joel here, in being badass fashion man, is able to sort of get up at the right time as they're coming into the house, takes them out, finds information about this group and where they're staying at, and of course Joel on his journey to find Ellie back finds out that they've been harvesting human bodies here. They've been cannibals, and sort of been keeping this a secret from everyone. That's how they've been sort of surviving. And Ellie, of course, been locked in this cage, and this is where we sort of get David's alternative motive, to where he wants to keep her for sexual reasons, and Ellie is just not having it, and he's trying to control her, and she's just not budging. And you just get this epic scene where they get into this huge big fight and trying to get away, and Ellie of course just loses it and just starts stabbing him like crazy, and finally just putting it all to bed. And just after that entire journey, her and Joel finally conversing back together at the end. It was great to see, and they're at the home stretch here, ready for the big showdown in the finale. And finally here, recapping, I guess, for the season review, episode number 9. This is, of course, the finale. Very short finale here, about 40-minute episode. But we see Joel and Ellie sort of having their final conversations before Ellie is going to be taken in here. They're talking and having a lot of great father-daughter bonding moments. And this is where I really think the full father and daughter dynamic is in full effect here, where Joel is fully immersed as like this father figure, this protector, this person who will do anything for Ellie. And Ellie, of course, is sort of blindsided taken, I would say. They sort of blindside Joel and Ellie at this place where they're looking at the giraffes here, the fireflies, and they take Ellie in for surgery, and Marlene sort of tries to have Joel kept where he is, but Joel of course is just not having it. He's going after everyone. He's trying to get out of this room, and Marlene basically is like, escort him out of here, we have work to do, when basically Marlene sort of gives Joel the impression that Ellie is going to have to die in order to save everyone or get this vaccine. And Joel just breaks down from it. But this hurts Marlene as well, because at the start of this episode we see how Ellie is sort of born, and how she's they give a little bit of an explanation of how she can be infected without turning, and that's because her mother was pregnant while on the run from one of the infected here, and she was basically bit as she was giving birth, and that sort of sent a immunity to Ellie here. And you see how Marlene had to put her down, and how she told her, I would do everything to protect this child, and now she has to sacrifice her to try and save everyone else. And it's like, how can you make that decision? And Joel and her just having this back and forth, just not feeling it, and of course trying to escort Joel out of the building. Joel sort of plays a little game on the two guards here, takes him out, is able to get the step on him, take the gun, and just sort of clear house here. I wish that this scene was done a little bit better. They kind of make it all slow, and they put this music over. I'm like, I want to see fast-paced action, just Joel just going up with this this gun here and taking everyone out. And this is where we find Ellie, and she's sedated here, and Joel of course is like, take her off the table. The doctor is just not feeling it, so he just kills the doctor, and that of course is going to come back later on if you know The Last of Us here. And we see the nurse is saying don't shoot, and then Joel is about to take her out, and right as he's at the parking lot to get out of there, Marlene comes up and is like, do you know how hard this is for me? And do you know what you've done and everything? And they sort of have this one last conversation. Joel knew he had something up his pocket and takes her out because she is going against the interest of him and Ellie. And this is where Joel is able to go on this car ride with Ellie, and they sort of have this what's coming next, or where do we go from here? And that's where they kind of leave it off at the end of this season. And we'll see here if they do a little Last of Us Part 2 for Season 2. If they expand into something different, we'll have to see. I think they will do a Last of Us Part 2. We're going to get introduced to some new characters here, which is going to be great. And in recapping here just everything that I've talked about, and recapping the entire story of The Last of Us TV show so far for Season 1, this to me was a 10 out of 10 season. It was so great. Like a 10 out of 10 show for me. I really was like, never like, this is so boring, I'm not interested. Every week, every episode kept me engaged. I was looking forward to it every Sunday. It was something that I was always looking forward to talking with you guys about and giving my thoughts and hearing the community talk about the episode each week. It was a great community show that everyone was bonding over, and it was something that took the world by storm here. And HBO, of course, delivering another classic. And we'll see how the next season goes. I know The Last of Us Part 2 is a little bit more polarizing than the first one. The first one in the first game is pretty universally praised. The second one has kind of a mix of both people. So we'll see how they kind of transition into that. But yeah, even just off the first season, I think it is a 10 out of 10 show. We'll see how, again, season 2 holds up here. But season 1 was so great. The Last of Us, of course, it's going to be a huge hit for HBO. It was such a big show that took the world by storm here, and it was everything that I could have hoped for in this video game adaptation, and it was the best video game adaptation TV show or movie that I have ever seen. So yeah, that's going to do it here for The Last of Us Season 1 review. Definitely comment down below some of your favorite moments or your favorite characters or anything that you want to talk about The Last of Us. I also have individual episode reviews here for each of the episodes. Characters Tier List will be coming out here shortly, and I also have an episode ranking each of the 9 episodes for The Last of Us Season 1. So definitely check those out if you haven't already. Take care, everyone, and peace out.